Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. In developing news tonight, a public dispute in Launceston has turned violent, with a Good Samaritan stabbed while apparently trying to break up a fight. Parts of the city were locked down as police arrested a 17-year-old suspect. Let's cross live to Tom Johnson at the scene. And Tom, we've heard bystanders held down the youth who was armed with a knife.
Kim, police have confirmed a citizen's arrest took place, and witnesses say as many as 3 people held the teenager down until police arrived. It's understood the 17-year-old was involved in a heated argument with a woman outside the Princess Theatre. It's alleged he then stabbed a witness who tried to intervene. The victim is now being treated in the Launceston General Hospital for serious injuries. Thankfully, they're not life-threatening. Police cordoned off parts of the CBD around Brisbane Street for roughly 80 minutes this afternoon, speaking to those who saw this terrifying incident unfold.
We don't want anyone to put themselves at risk, but we do acknowledge the fact that they've really assisted police in capturing the offender and seeing that the victim got appropriate care really quickly.
At this stage, no charges have been laid. We expect those to come soon, though, once the 17-year-old has been interviewed, wrapping up what was a very frightening incident in Launceston CBD. Kim?
Okay, thank you very much there, Tom Johnson. Well, less than a year after locking in a funding arrangement, Marinus Link has been put at risk by a shocking cost blowout. The federal government has now been asked to step in and save the interconnector's future.
A second energy link across the strait has been touted since the teens.
We have it in Tasmania. We have what the rest of the nation is really after and is seeking.
But shopping for Marinus Link has caused a shock with a cost blowout.
The right price doesn't mean any price, and we will always put Tasmania first.
Last year, Tasmania, Victoria and the Commonwealth agreed to pay 20% of start-up costs for the $3.5 billion cable to the mainland, with the remaining 80% financed through low-cost loans. 7 Tasmania News understands the new estimated cost is $5.5 billion, prompting the Premier to ask the federal government for a new deal.
There is a line that has been drawn in the sand.
There is a line in the sand that Tasmania cannot afford to cross.
The Premier's made it clear there's a line in the sand.
But coy on exactly where that line is and how much the state would be prepared to pay. Still hopeful it will go ahead.
There, of course, can be and will be benefits for the nation, but Tasmania must be considered first for us.
Minister Barnett has staked his career on this policy. He has said that it's a great deal for Tasmania and that he is going to deliver Marinus. Well, today he is walking away from that promise.
With the project now under a cloud, the state's Chamber of Commerce and Industry are calling it a must-have. But some say it's time to ditch the project.
The Liberals have used renewable energy generation as a toy for electioneering instead of looking for solutions.
If funding is found, there could still be convincing to do inside of Parliament House. Independent John Tucker wants to see it go through the Projects of State Significance pathway, requiring both houses to pass it twice.
This has got to be for the benefit of Tasmanians. We're elected as politicians to make decisions for the Tasmanian people.
The Premier says this line in the sand is the start of a Tasmania First energy guarantee, promising more announcements to follow. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's emergency services have been commended following a heart-stopping river rescue. A mother and her toddler are miraculously unharmed in a nightmare that saw them plucked from their car as it filled with water.
A tail race tragedy so narrowly avoided. A car plunging into the Cunnamalooka Tamar River, a mum and her precious cargo on board.
RDS just got to us, so the radios got to us and said, there's a car in the water with a mother and child in the tail race. Can you go?
The small hatchback had driven into the water from the car park. With the vehicle sinking into the river silt, it was quick-thinking emergency services which saved the day.
The door was locked. Fortunately, the window was cracked just a little bit, so I had enough to get the fingers in and then just reef her down.
Crews worked together to pass the little boy along to shore before helping his mother make it to dry land. Almost unbelievably, the 18-month-old was delivered to the riverbank completely dry.
I think we sort of got there in time where, the cabin had been was filling with water. but the baby was still dry and happy, and mum was, safe as well.
The lucky pair were taken to hospital as a precaution and have since been released. The car was fished from the river last night, its owner grateful for a rapid response from rescuers.
But the reality is that the quick action of the police and the ambulance officers that arrived on scene within minutes probably saved 2 lives yesterday, and that's not an everyday job.
With just a few muddy pairs of boots, worse for wear. Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
Petrol prices are hovering around $2 a litre tonight as an increase in the fuel excise begins to bite. The tax went up at the beginning of the month in line with inflation. The highest price in Hobart was $1.99.9 for unleaded, while in Launceston Centre prices were almost 3 cents higher than the capital. The ACCC has previously warned stations against price gouging. Tasmania Police are renewing calls to find Christopher Watkins almost 10 years after he vanished from Launceston. It's hoped the plea could spark new clues and bring closure to a decade-long mystery.
A quest for answers for a family left in the dark.
10 years is a very long time for a family to be missing a loved one.
Christopher Watkins was last seen at a Box Street unit in Mayfield on August 7, 2013. Police believe he was snatched, met with an unthinkable fate.
Now, we strongly suspect that Christopher was murdered, and although we've received a significant amount of information, we've been unable to locate Christopher's body or Christopher's remains.
The missing piece in a complex investigation.
We have interviewed people who we consider persons of interest, and we need additional information and evidence.
Hoping for more answers as the anniversary of his disappearance fast approaches.
This is a situation where the community has critical information that can solve a potential murder.
We want the people who can join the dots for us to provide the closure for Christopher's family.
The next step in solving 10 years of questions and pain for a family still longing for justice.
Not knowing where he is, not knowing if he's safe, or just really upset.
It's heartbreaking. I feel like I've lost a part of me and I'm not getting it back.
$500,000 remains on the line, a financial incentive for clues that lead to a conviction.
$500,000 is a lot of money in anybody's books, so we'd implore those people to consider how that money might impact their lives into the future.
You can do it anonymously and still be eligible, but it has to lead to a conviction. That's the critical component.
The public now holding the key to unlocking the mystery. Victoria Easto, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's distillers are warning a jump in the alcohol excise tax could force many businesses to halt expansion plans or close altogether. They're now calling on the federal government to provide further relief for local producers.
For distillers across Tasmania, this week required a stiff drink. Days out from the state's annual celebration of whiskey, the tax on alcohol reached $100 per litre.
If you think about a bottle of gin, it's nearly half the value of that gin is excise.
It does have an impact because that then has an impact on your margin.
Soaring inflation pouring into the price of a nip. A spirit hotspot, Tasmania is home to more than 60 small and large distillers, worth $500 million to the economy, all now facing an unenviable choice.
It's really difficult to actually pass those now onto the consumer. I'm feeling that a lot of distilleries will be wearing this cost.
As fears grow, some will call last drinks.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see some businesses pushed to the wall.
Local producers now lobbying Tasmania's federal MPs for a revamp of the 40-year-old system.
There is a little bit of a disparity between what spirit distillers pay in excise and what other industries like the brewers and winemakers pay.
When it's cheaper to buy a bottle of 40-spotted gin in Auckland than it is in Hobart, we say there is something wrong with that.
A spokesperson for Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers says the current system has been long-standing and the industry's concerns have been listened to, but they have to be weighed up against other priorities in the budget. Distillers currently get their first $350,000 in revenue excise-free, but that figure hasn't risen with inflation.
With every increase, that's less bottles of spirit that particular distillery can produce.
The Premier offering to raise a glass.
I'm happy to express the concerns of the industry directly to the federal government.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
The suspended Mayor of Dorset has described the sacking of council as a political witch hunt. Greg Howard believes the decision stemmed from him quitting the Liberal Party. But the state government is standing firm on claims the council is not acting in the best interests of the community.
He's been Mayor of Dorset for 9 years. Now Greg Howard and his council is facing a 7-month stint on the sidelines.
We have not breached legislation in any way, shape or form. I'm very confident of that.
Claims the state government refutes. Local Government Minister Nick Street throwing the council aside 2 days ago. He says the investigation focuses on if there are any broader systemic issues associated with the council, suggesting it is not acting in the best interests of the community. The investigation started in 2021, which the Mayor says was a shock to him.
We knew nothing about the investigation until February this year. They totally denied councillors and the staff any semblance of procedural fairness.
The council responded to the claims with more than 1,000 pages of documents.
Which basically disproves or justifies pretty much everything in their original investigation report.
He instead claims the issues started after he resigned from the leadership of the North East Liberal Party branch.
There's no doubt in my mind there's political interference here.
Now Andrew Wardlaw is the council's commissioner. He comes with 2 decades of experience after 20 years as Burnie Council's general manager.
Council will be business as usual, so people will still transact with the council as they did. My role is to perform the functions and powers of the mayor and councillors.
Meanwhile, Councillor Howard is confident the council won't be dismissed at the inquiry's conclusion.
We haven't seen any evidence at this point in time that would even suggest that would be the case.
Answers likely to be given by February next year. Talia Jordan, 7 Tasmania News.
A social housing tenant says she's still in shock. She has a roof over her head after spending the majority of her life in unstable living conditions. Centre Care Evolve Housing helping out while also lifting the curtain on an art project which draws attention to those still stuck on the wait list.
Diane Harcourt wears a smile today, but for 50 years she struggled to find stable accommodation. Centre Care Evolve Housing coming to her aid with a permanent place to live.
I can come and go here. No one's going to say you have to go. And I can treat it as my own. There's love in the place, there's all my things, and I'm building a new life.
However, thousands of Tasmanians are still waiting for their own forever home, many of them now featured in a large monochrome art project.
There's 4,500, nearly 5,000 people on the housing wait list alone. They're all people, they all have a face, they all have a story, and they all have ultimately a need and a desire to be in a safe and secure housing environment.
It comes ahead of Homelessness Week, the photographs highlighting a variety of demographics in an attempt to debunk social housing stereotypes.
We are all humans, we all go through levels of challenges in our life, and every single one of us is at risk of homelessness at any point in our lives.
Centre Care now asking the community to support it in its search for more development sites. Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
The finishing touches are being made on a new Launceston exhibition featuring the work of a top First Nations artist. The QV Mag, the latest stop on Alec Tapotti's Murra Mineral tour. His works pay homage to his ancestors and their stories.
Alec's work is incredibly detailed and explores those ancestral links, particularly their relationship to land, sky and sea.
The immersive art experience hoping to share more cultural knowledge with the local community.
You can see through First Nations and Torres Strait stories and with spiritual patterns, it's something quite so different that you are really privileged to be able to walk through.
The free exhibition opens tomorrow and will be on display until late October.
When Kingborough hosts Lauderdale this weekend in the TSL, the clash will have a little extra meaning, doubling as an Indigenous celebration game. The 2 jumpers were designed by Palawa artist Takira Simon Brown and tell stories of the land where the clubs sit.
It's more about like why can't we? Like, why do we have to wait for NAIDOC week, or why do we have to wait for Reconciliation week to do something? Like, why can't we just celebrate, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture?
It could probably be something we do as a whole comp, I reckon, too, which would look really good. The AFL does it. I don't see why we couldn't do it as well.
6th place Lauderdale is one of only 2 clubs to beat the Tigers this year. The SFL will this week shine a light on rural and regional communities. Huonville and New Norfolk will compete for the Raw Cup when they clash tomorrow afternoon. Named in honour of the Rural Alive and Well Support Group, both clubs are hoping to spark conversations around local health and well-being.
A very important and prominent issue in the community, so to be able to represent that and represent the things that they're doing is fantastic.
Rounds like this express the SFL a lot, and especially like teams coming together to play for stuff like this, so I think it's really good.
Huonville will also step back in time, wearing their famous pre-merger Bulldog Guernsey. Top bowls players will be rolling in cash when the state's richest pairs tournament launches in October. $10,000 is on offer to the winner of The Viking, a new event enticing the nation's best players to the East Launceston Bowls Club.
We've got entries from around the country so far. Lots of Tasmania's best bowlers have entered, as well as many pairs from different states.
The prize money on offer is on par with other top bowls tournaments around the country. A VFLW Premiership player has made the switch to Tasmania's top flight soccer league. Jessie Williams will line up for Taroona in the Women's Super League in just over an hour after guiding Port Melbourne to its first VFLW flag last weekend.
Yeah, I'm actually feeling quite nervous about it, to be honest. I've just got to remind myself not to body someone too badly tonight.
Williams says she's been inspired watching the Matildas in the World Cup, giving her the itch to return to the soccer pitch. And tonight's Friday Flashback is celebrating a special farewell tour. After winding up a famous career, thousands turned out to pay tribute to Ricky Ponting in a one-off match featuring the who's who of the sporting world. After headlines screened the news of Ricky Ponting's retirement, and South Africa offered a guard of honour for his last innings.
And now they're bowling the bouncer.
A tribute match in Ponting's hometown of Launceston completed the perfect farewell. Nearly 18,000 punters came to watch Punter and co, as the likes of Brett Lee with the ball, Ian Healy behind the stumps and Adam Gilchrist with the bat turned back the clock. Matthew Richardson had a shocker, dropping a sitter, but there would be few faults from the man of the moment. Ponting reached just about every part of Aurora Stadium, smashing 83 before saying enough was enough and retiring in his own retirement match. The big winner was Ponting's charity, raising $200,000 for children with cancer.
It's absolutely mind-blowing to think that we can get nearly 18,000 people here at Aurora Stadium under lights for a game of cricket, so thank you all very much. Give yourselves a round of applause.
In reply came a standing ovation for a classy night of cricket.
Good evening. Hobart recorded 17 today, Launceston 14, Devonport 15 and Burnie a high of 16 degrees. Denali, Ouse, Flinders Island and Grove all on our top of 18. King Island, Friendly Beaches and Bushy Park 17, St Helens 16 and Strawn 15. A mid-level rain band of cloud crossed today with falls mainly over the west and north. Between 7am and 4pm, Pine Tree Rivulet on the Central Plateau had 42 millimetres. The cloud over us joins a larger expanse of cloud crossing over the mainland. Speckled cloud forms to our west in that cold pool of air. Tomorrow a high over the Bight pushes a ridge to our north, but in doing so directs a colder westerly airstream over us. Fronts are over waters to the south. Quite breezy tomorrow again with west-south-westerly winds at 35 knots generally. However, over the south expect 35 to 45 knot winds with a 5 metre swell. So we do have a severe weather warning for damaging winds for the east coast and that southwest corner of the state. A gale warning from Flinders Island down to and around to Sandy Cape. A strong wind warning for remaining waters including the lakes. A flood watch for catchments in the north, northwest and northeast. Minor flood warnings for the South Esk, North Esk and Meander rivers. Bit going on. What's happening for Saturday? Cloudy for Hobart and 14. 9 the top for Maydena, a few showers. Oatlands cloudy. 15 for Launceston and partly cloudy. Devonport 14, a top of just 6 for Lyowini with a shower in the hills. 13 for Burnie, showers for Strawn. 12, same for Marrawar. And for the east coast, 15 for St Helens, Swansea, 13 for Orford, all partly cloudy but fine. A shower for Strawn and Curry on Sunday, fine and partly cloudy elsewhere. A possible shower again for King Island on Monday and for Strawn, okay for the rest of the state. Temperatures still cool into Tuesday with showers possibly over the west. Sunny and 19 in Perth, cloudy and 14 for both Adelaide and Melbourne. Showers developing over New South Wales, 23 and mostly fine for Brisbane. And the current conditions around the state are partly cloudy or mostly cloudy. Now, Kim, I've been worried about the Sydney Swans finals chances, and I've worked out that both the Bulldogs and Richmond have to lose tonight against each other. How do we get that to happen?
Well, you can't fix the weather, so I don't think you can fix a football match, Murph. And that is all we have time for tonight. Thanks for your company. Good night.